feel good and enjoy what we've got today, okay? How about, does everybody have a full tummy? Did you have plenty of biscuits and gravy? Yes. All right. It was wonderful having a breakfast again with biscuits and gravy and scrambled eggs, wasn't it? Yes. Here's the deal. If we want to have more of these, we need some people to volunteer to help us. You got to take, you had to walk up to the window today and pick up your own food because we didn't have any volunteers. It's only one Saturday a month. So please let Dennis or I know, or Tammy know, and we can get these breakfasts going again because they're a lot of fun. Lots of visiting going on, okay? So that's all I got to say about that. So thank you all again for coming. Let's get the party started. We have Sean Taylor here today. Did anybody go to the Highland Games last weekend in Grand Junction? Besides Dennis and I? Yeah. And yeah, those Highland Games were so much fun. And Sean is a good part responsible for those games. And so we're very blessed to have him here playing for us today. So Sean, I'm turning it over to you right now.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Sykes. I know with my mother, my brother, and Cindy, we decided that we need to tell everybody about us. And it was profound sadness that we announced that on Sykes. Hilda left us while peacefully sleeping at home with her family beside her bed. Hilda was suffering from a broken hip, major stroke, and a ravaged Alzheimer's. Celebration of life will be held in spring of 2022, which is now. Our founding mother and friends touched many lives during her 89 years. After meeting Hilda, you were her lifelong friends and member of the family. Hilda was preceded in death by her husband of 47 years, Larry. Her infant daughter, Lindell, her parents, Bill and Ruby McKee, brother George, brother Walter, and sister Sylvia Webster. Hilda and Joe Dice shared 5 years of companionship before his death. survived by her sister, Virginia Carroll, sons Harold, Desiree Vaughn, Cindy, and Dennis, grandson Justin, and Callie Daniels, and have great-granddaughters Haley, Charlie, and Zoe. Hilda attended beauty college in Grand Junction before marrying Larry. She worked as a beautician, even owning her own shop until her family was grown and on their own. At that time, she devoted her life caring for Larry and enjoying many volunteer projects, hobbies, and activities. She and Larry loved the snowmobile, dance, square dance on horseback, and doing outings on horses. Supported their children in rodeo and loved to travel. Larry and Hilda were avid supporters of the Dorsey Percy Senior Center and worked on many projects. That devotion continued after his death. She was an activist on issues involving seniors. She worked on many projects and initiatives with Deb Stewart through the Senior Center, Regional and Garfield County Council on Aging, and the Colorado Western Slope and Rifle Senior Wings. For these efforts, she received the honor of Garfield County Senior of the Year in 2012. Hilda may be remembered most for her unwavering dedication to the senior breakfast, the fundraiser for the center. On breakfast day, she woke at 4 and was at the senior center by 5 to begin preparing the food. When everyone has been served breakfast, she would leave the kitchen and begin her rounds to say hello and give hugs to virtually everyone. That was the only thing she would ever admit to taking out. She made great many friends while golfing, and as a longtime member of the Rock Creek Ladies Golf Club, she loved rodeo and often attended the PBR finals in Las Vegas with her friend Lee Kaiser. She loved to travel, and after Larry's passing, she took many wonderful trips with her dearest friend, Sonny Dunn, and got in a few with Joe. It is common to see Hilda line dancing with her group at the nursing home or assisted living. She also volunteered with the Grand River Hospital District Health Fair. For everyone who loved her, and we will never forget her infectious smile and undying love for her family and friends. Our special thanks to the family and friends that took out of their busy lives to visit Hilda at Eagle Ridge in Grand Junction and at her home after she left the nursing home. Also, special thanks to Adobe Home Health and Hospice for their loving help and support. For anyone wishing to honor Hilda, the family is encouraging donations to the Sales and Cans Committee, Dorsey Christie Senior Center, or the charitable organization that touches you.
Hello. Everybody knows me. I'm Dennis. I'm Hilda's youngest son. I'm so thrilled to see everybody that's made it today. Mom was loved by so many people, and her very, very special friends that used to take time out of their lives to help and visit and go with Mom and be friends. Among those are Merle and Gary Swallow, who are here. Kirk Swallow, Merle and Gary's son. He used to come by, and every time we had a good wreck or a good snow, next thing you know, here comes Kirk blowing through the driveway, making sure Mom could get the car in and out. And she appreciated it so much. I've got some notes here somewhere. Mom's friends were many, and when you became her friend, you were always going to be her friend. And she loved her family, with whom we have here. Tommy McKee, his wife Elkie, Lyman McKee, and Stella Gale, who are cousins, my cousins. We don't know, we just call each other cousins. So we're that far back. So anyway, had ventured out here from California and over from Denver. And I just want to thank everyone that has come here. Oh yes, her grandson, Justin Sykes, his wife, Kelly Daniels, their two children, who are Charlie Joe and Zoe. Those are Mom's great-grandchildren. So she has three. The oldest great-grandchild wasn't able to attend, but I'm sure she's here in spirit. So Justin will be giving the speech later, I think. No, he's not. We'll bully him into it. So, but many of the people here, Mom called family. My brother and I brought home people from the time we were in junior high, all the way through the rest of our lives, that came and visited Mom and became family. And when Mom called you family, you were always going to be family. You were always welcome at her table. She would do anything for you. So, and we have many friends that she calls family that couldn't be here. Oh yes, and she had no problem telling you were wrong. She would definitely let you know if you screwed up. So, whether you were a born child or one of her adopted children, I can name some of the adopted children that are here. All that over there. They're all family. Friends that were so dear to Mom used to come and visit her and take time out of their busy day to play Yahtzee and Mom just enjoyed that to death. Her longtime friends who are among you, all of you. So anyway, Mom loved everyone equally, and like I say, she was never afraid to tell you were wrong, but she always told you she loved you and let you know that you were a friend and that you were loved by her. I've got some stories that I can tell of my mom. One of which is she said I never knew a stranger. And to prove that point, I was sitting out when we lived here in town. I was sitting out on the curb talking to a bum that had happened to walk by. And she said, I told you not to talk to strangers. I said, he's not a stranger. His name's Tom. That's all I needed to know is your name. Didn't work really for strangers. And she was much like that. I got that from her. When you met and she became your friend, you were never a stranger. So, what? Yes, and she remembered everybody's name up until damn near the end. She remembered everybody's face. She could pick you out of the crowd. She may not be able to tell you who you were, but she knew you. So she'd send me over to ask, what's your name? So, but anyway, that's just one of the stories of Mom. Mom and Dad had a great life. They were married for 47 years. And I'll tell a story on Dad now that Mom was a part of. And Dad was out hunting one year, way early in their life, and he shot an elk, had a cow up at it. So he shot this elk, and he was getting ready to ride down and take care of this elk, and two calves came out. And Dad knew he screwed up. So rather than let them starve, he shot them too. And he called Mom up, and Mom brought her they had an old Chevy or Ford big wagon, big trunk car, and Dad loaded those two elk up in the back of that trunk of that car and told Mom to drive them home. And she knew every inch of the way that the game warden was going to stop her and she was going to go to jail. So she lived a colorful life. She was happy. She traveled. That was one of her favorite things to do. Her good friend Sunny she traveled to many, many places, and they loved their time together. So she lived a good, happy, healthy life. She traveled in the States, she traveled abroad. She loved to go everywhere. She and Sunny would go to these trips. They'd go to Sedona just for the weekend or just for a week and do nothing but sit in the sun and drink wine. They loved that. So, and she took several cruises with Sunny. She really had, her life was full, and it was full of friends, and that's shown by everybody that's here. And I want to thank everyone for coming and celebrating Mom's life. So please enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you. That's all I can say is thank you. Sorry that was such a rambling mess, but anyway. Oh, my poem, yes. Okay, here. This is a poem that is very touching to me. And where's the other half? Where's the other half? This is it, okay. All right. This is a poem titled When I Die, and it's from Merrick Malloy, wrote this. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old me that went to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother. Walking the streets beside you, and when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved, and if you cannot give me away, at least let me live on in your eyes and not your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all of that is left of me is love given away. Thank you.
That's become our favorite poem, so we're really enjoying that. I have a number of things to say. People have know that the last 3 months of Hilda's life, Dennis and I took care of her. We brought her home from the nursing home and took care of her. And I always tell everybody it was an honor to take care of her, and it truly was. We these days are talking about we have a good life and we have good days and we had a good time. I want to encourage everybody to look for the good moments, wonderful moments. Dennis and I were privileged to have the most beautiful moments with Hilda the last 3 months of her life. So narrow down your focus and look for and enjoy those wonderful moments that are out there that we may be missing. It was truly a beautiful time in our lives. I told nobody to cry. Okay. Okay, this is the part of the celebration that we're going to ask anybody that wants to talk, wants to speak and say a few words about Hilda. I'm going to bring the microphone around so that nobody has to get up and move up here. But first on our list is Cousin Tom. He showed me what he had to say, and so Tommy, I'm going to bring the microphone to you. All right. All right. Okay, just move it.
I grew up in Rifle, Colorado, and out on a little small ranch outside of town. Hilda May was her official name, but I always knew her as Babe. So Babe was one of my favorite cousins, and I have to say she was 8 years older than me, but she just took me under her wing, and she became my kissing cousin during those years. It's an honor for me to be here and to be here with my brother. And one story about my brother, he was born 7 years after Hilda. So Hilda was 7 years old and got to come and see my brother when he was still coming out of the hospital. And so they let her hold him and love him and stuff. And it came time for them to go home. And and she couldn't take Lyman home with her. So she cried hot tears about that. So I always kidded her about it. It's an honor for me to be here, and I have a couple of articles that I want to read about my remembrance of her. Every time I would come back to Colorado, she would take me to Rifle Creek Golf Course and show me how she could beat me at that course. Anyway, this poem is about a life that matters. Ready or not, someday it'll all come to an end. There will be no more sunrises, no more minutes, hours, or days. All things you collected, whether treasures or forgotten, will pass to someone else. Your wealth, fame, and temporal power will shrivel in irrelevance. It will not matter what you own, what you were owed. Your grudges, resentments, frustrations, and jealousy will finally disappear. So too will your hopes, ambitions, plans, to-do lists will expire. The wins and losses that once seemed so important will fade away. It won't matter where you came from or what side of the tracks you lived on at the end. Even your gender and skin color will be irrelevant. So what will matter? How will the value of your days be measured? What will matter is not what you bought, but what you built. Not what you got, but what you gave. What will matter is not your success, but your significance. What will matter is not what you learned, but what you taught. What will matter is every act of integrity, compassion, courage, and sacrifice. What will matter is not your competence, but your character. What will matter is not how many people you knew, but how many will feel a lasting loss when you're gone. What will matter is not your memories, but the memories of those who loved you. What will matter is how long you will be remembered, and from whom and for what. Living a life that matters doesn't happen by accident. It is a matter of circumstances, but of choice. Choose to live a life that matters. So I thought that had a lot of meaning to it. And some of you have heard this other one. It's called The Dash by Linda Ellis. I read of a man who stood to speak at a funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that the first gave the date of the birth and spoke of the following date with tears. He said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time he spent alive on earth. And now only the ones who loved him know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard, and there are things you'd like to change, for you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. To be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remember that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read and your life actions so to be rehashed, would you be proud of the things and they say about how you lived your dash? I'm happy to see all the people here, and I thought we were going to get a lot more, but evidently the Rifle Telegram, or whatever paper is now called, didn't get the message out to the other 150 people that would probably be here. I'm honored to be here, and I'm going to give it back to Cindy.
Wasn't that awesome? Okay, I'm going to walk around with the microphone, so, raise your hand up, like you're a little scared or something, if you'd like to say something.
all club. I met her playing bowling and golfing, and she was just a sweetheart. And I just want to thank Cindy and Dennis for taking care of her so much. She was her best days.
Well, I met Hilda golfing, and she was the sweetest lady. She was always willing to help. She helped us many years in the Cowgirl Shootout, and she's just a wonderful, wonderful lady.
I met Hilda when we were playing golf, and she let me be her partner for several years. Basically, that meant I rode around in the cart because Hilda did all the scoring and hit all the shots, and made me feel very, very proud that I could win with someone and not myself. But she was gracious and loving, and I'll always remember her smile and her laugh.
I had the pleasure of meeting Hilda in the 90s through Deb Stewart. And I had also the privilege of running the Senior Wellness Initiative for Colorado. And Hilda was our star. And Hilda not only ran Senior Wellness here, but she ran Senior Wellness with all of us. And she was Senior Wellness. She was personified health, personified love, personified glorious being, all the things that her son has said about it. But the thing I remember the most was with the job, it was kind of a volunteer job, so she got a stipend for this job from the grant that we were working with, which wasn't a whole lot, but one day she called me up and she said, I got my stipend, and I said, great. She said, you know what I'm gonna buy? I said, no, what? And she said, a dishwasher. I'm gonna buy a dishwasher. And I remember that. I had lived 20 years without a dishwasher, and I felt the joy. I shared the joy with Hilda in buying a dishwasher. So I hope that dishwasher is still working, because it was marvelous.
She was the dishwasher.
She was.
She never bought a dishwasher. She didn't trust me. I didn't think they got everything clean enough for her. She was pretty meticulous when she did the dishes.
Makes sense.
I'm Deb Stewart. My maiden name was Sykes, and Hilda got to spend 5 years with my father. And they had a blast. I'm sitting here today with a coffee cup that has a note written on it, and it's a note that my father wrote to Hilda about where he was. So if anybody wants to see that, they're welcome to. But I was lucky to be one of the adopted girls for Hilda. I would have ended up being about the same age as your guy's sister, the Chilans. Hilda traveled with me. My initial work into the Sykes family was Larry, their father, was on my board. He used to travel with me to different kinds of meetings. Then when Larry died, I felt guilty that, my goodness, what are we going to do with Hilda? So I talked her into volunteering at the senior center. And first it started out as helping with the meals and taking reservations for the buses, and then it just kept snowballing. She became very, very, very involved. And part of that involvement, part of what you're doing here today, and part of the reason Chris is here today, is we're trying to think of, and I think we're getting closer to senior wellness, and we're looking at developing a 5K walk run. That'll be something like off your rockers or Hilda's hike or whatever. But it'll have Hilda's name all over it. And if you want to walk, ride your scooter, be pushed in a wheelchair, run with the little kids, whatever. Just, or stand on the corner and get a hug. It'll all be in Hilda's memory and her honor. So we'll hopefully maybe have one this summer or this fall, depending on what kind of support we can get. But that's part of the reason that we're kind of focusing on all of her work that she did with senior wellness. Oh, by the way, when I retired, Hilda gave me a whole bunch of columbine seeds. My columbines this morning, even with this wonderful weather, were about this tall and they were blooming like crazy. So I want all of you to know they've baked cookies and Hilda's homemade zucchini bread with her recipe, and she's got some columbine seeds over there in packets for you. I encourage all of you that have a semi-green thumb to get some columbine seeds because they are absolutely gorgeous. And I'm sorry she's not here because now they've moved the PBR to spring and she would have been able to sit and watch it.
She was really a great friend, and she always had a for you.
That's true. So true. Okay. Bruce?
I'm Clarice Moore, and I met Hilda when I first came to the senior center here, encouraging me to join the Sales and Cans group and finding out all of the things that they did. But the history that I enjoyed hearing about was how they started their breakfast. Mary, Elder, and Hilda, correct me if I'm wrong, Mary, but they started the breakfast cooking on grills outside and eventually brought it inside. And I just think that showed so much dedication. She was a member of the advisory board, her and Joe, both, here at the senior center. And she was short, and I really appreciated someone I could look down or eye level. And one special thing is my son and family came, and from then on, she called them every time we had a breakfast. And they couldn't be here today, but they're here and thought and appreciate the little lady, Hilda.
Thank you, Cindy. I'm Russell George, and if you haven't noticed, the George name creeps through all of this, and that's a great source of happiness to me. Hilda was always in my life, so sitting here thinking back, listening to everyone, is just everything to me because she was always there in my life. And we were proud of that. My grandparents, my mother's parents, Fred and Mary Michael, were bosom buddies with Hilda's parents, with Bill and Ruth. And my mom and dad, Walter and Eleonora, were the best of friends with Larry and Hilda. And so always in my life, when I would see her out on the street or wherever we'd be, they were visiting, playing cards, whatever, it was a happy time. And that continued forever. Whenever I saw her, I felt better because of who she was. There was one time I wasn't sure that I was really feeling better, and I'll tell you this little story. Just a couple of years ago, she would, of course, she's an activist in senior affairs, and as part of that, she would travel to various communities around, and a couple times she ended up at the college in Craig, in whatever meeting they were having. And at the time, I was president of the college, so I was invited and expected to come to these meetings, whatever the event was. And so I eventually find the room and walk in to the gathering. As soon as she would see me come in, she'd jump up from wherever she was in the room and come running over to me, disrupting everything else, of course. She'd give me this great big hug that I've learned all my life to enjoy. And then she would, with her arm around me, would turn to the audience and would say, "I am so glad to see Russell. And I want you to know that I babysat the president of the college." So she could put you in your place. And she would do that every time to anybody who would listen. And I eventually figured out that that was endearing. It ceased being an embarrassment. But I want to acknowledge while I'm sitting here seeing it, did you do the quilt? If you folks haven't looked at this quilt, take some time before you leave. That is just precious. Thank you. Thanks for doing that.
That was her 80th birthday present. So that's what we gave her, because she didn't need any more things, so we gave her, we made that.
Another thing?
Yeah, another thing. So.
Yes. So, my relationship with Hilda first started with my mom, and so I read all the golf tournaments and the events that happened around town. I think one year, about 30 years ago, my mom says, "Why don't you go down and plow this driveway?" So I went down there and plowed her driveway, and I continued plowing her driveway for the last 30 years. And I always got rewarded with a nice loaf of banana bread or ski bread. It was always very, very special.
For that day. Okay? Nothing to say already.
I love to say it, growing up by.
Yeah. Nancy? Callie? Just.
So I'm just going to basically just tell a little story about me growing up with Granny. So when I was a little kid, this is how I knew the impact she had in the community here, right? Was Papa would go off and he'd do something I couldn't go do, so I'd have to be with Granny. And inevitably we'd have to go to town and we'd have to go to the grocery store. I used to dread going to the grocery store with Granny. Every time we go to the grocery store, it was like a 2-hour affair. And that was just because we'd walk in, she knew that person. We'd go to the fruit section, she knew 5 people there. We'd go to the next aisle, she'd know another person or another person. So this is just the relationship she had. And, you know, when I was a little kid, it just took so long and I couldn't stand going. But then when you get older, you just realize how many people she touched, how many people she affected, the life she led, and like everybody has said, you were family no matter what. I know she loved this senior center and did so much work here in the senior community. I'm just extremely proud of everything she's done, and I miss her a lot. And but I'm so happy everybody's here, and that's pretty much it. So there you go. That's my speech.
Thank you. You did a great job. I think he deserves credit.
For those who don't know me, what you don't, my name is Mary Hilda. I have probably known Hilda as long or longer than anybody in this room. I met Hilda when she was about 3 weeks old. Of course, I was only 3.5 years old, so this is all like what people told me. Anyway, I want to thank on behalf of the sales and committee for everyone who came today, because Hilda was one of those who helped start sales and committee and the breakfast. We've had a long history, and we do thank everybody, and especially the family, for pitching in and helping. Hilda was a wonderful volunteer. She belonged to many committees, was very trustworthy and very hardworking. And her memory will stay with us always.
Mary, how long have we been having senior breakfasts? How long have we had senior breakfasts? How many years?
I don't know the senior well.
The breakfasts.
We started in about probably 88, 89, somewhere out there.
We served a lot of breakfasts, haven't we?
We served it downstairs.
We served breakfast downstairs, cooking in electric skillets, and we had to feed people out of the patio. Eventually, we got to move into the downstairs and cook breakfast down there. Then, eventually, we got to move upstairs. And it has been a fun and a worthy cause.
It has been, it truly has been.
I'm Sharon Visto, and Hilda always had a big, warm smile for you wherever you met her, and especially up here at the Senior Center. And I would like to know whatever happened to the donkey named Hilda.
Okay, we're going to put the slideshow back up after everything is over, so those of you that didn't get to see it can see it. But in there is Miss Hilda the donkey, and there was an article in the newspaper. And I worked for the Forest Service before I retired, and one of my dear friends came and asked me one day, she said, the donkey that we're bringing out from Durango, mule, excuse me, mule, I'm sorry, right, it's a mule. It's a mule, she is a mule. I think it would be fun if we named the mule after Hilda. And my friend Claire met Hilda, and of course they were immediately friends, and Claire was her granddaughter, and that was perfectly fine with Claire because she needed grandma, and so birthdays came and they're exchanging gifts, and COVID came, and Claire made sure that a parade passed in front of the yard, and her husband made her birthday cake, and we had a birthday outside for Hilda, so even COVID didn't stop her getting her birthday party and everything, but Forest Service gets a mule. So coming up from Durango, mule needs a name. They'd never named the mule, so Claire said, can we name the mule Miss Hilda? Would Hilda mind if we did that? I said, Hilda would love it if we named the mule. So, and she did, and if you remember those pictures on the slideshow, Hilda is grinning from ear to ear because we had a big ceremony out there naming the mule after Hilda, and Hilda got to meet Miss Hilda, and newspaper did it up royally, and it was a beautiful thing, and Hilda really, she giggled for weeks after that about having a mule named after her, so, yeah.
I have an awful lot of things to say. I grew up with Hilda. We were out the same school bus together, year after year after year. I went with her brother. Her sister was my best friend, and I was a closer, if anyone remembers. We lived on a farm across the street next to each other. We rode the same school bus. I was so envious of her and her brother and sister because they had all those rabbits to feed every day and take care of. She loved those rabbits, but she hated the job of taking care of them and cleaning their cages. But those years I go with her are way back then, and I hardly remember the years since I returned to Colorado and worked with sales and cans. And with Hilda, we took trips together. She and Sonny and I went to Vermont. She wheeled me in a wheelchair because I had a broken hip, but we went anyway. It was fun on the plane, everybody taking care of me. Now I'm walking alone, and she is too, so here we go.
First met Joe, or Honey, at the luncheons, and he would sit at the table, and I knew him long before Hilda. One day, Hilda came in and joined the table, and I said, it is so
have too many memories of Hilda. I've only knew her for a couple of years, but a couple of years ago, they ran a story in the paper. Was that transmission? And it was about this Hilda, this mule who was named Hilda. And they got Hilda together with this mule and they did a story. And the picture of her loving on this mule named Hilda was just the thing that I remember, Dennis. That's all I remember is her smiling and laughing up there at the face of this mule named Hilda.
Hello everyone, my name is Chuck Hill. Just the residual effect of how they impacted the Sykes family and cascades throughout the world. I'm a brother from another mother to Dennis, and that's a connection that we have. I was a power line for many, many years, and Dennis is an electrician. So I used to store my boy toys over at Hilda's house. When no one was around, I'd always knock on the door and check on her, go in and visit. Like I said, she was a wonderful person. And the cascade effect of that meeting, that kind of shows here today. And from Hilda to all of you, thank you, because I'm sure she would want to see it. Thank you.
Yeah, Chuck stored his toys over there and he paid her on the dot every month. And she looked forward to that money because that was her mad money. And things were going to get wild for a while. So.
Good morning, my name is Mick Nanko. I became friends by buying the house next door to Hilda and Larry back in '89. I think it was owned by Jay and Joyce Crawford. So I lived just to the south of Hilda from '89 all the way to 2015. So that's 26 years. I was a neighbor. And during those years, when her and Larry were still active, they were very busy in their side ventures and travels. And Larry, I still believe, was doing welding at the time and things like that. But then once she was on her own, I remember one thing, year after year after year, she had the most fabulous raspberries. And there would be 3, maybe 4 big pickings a year, and I would see her out there and always had to come out and visit, and she'd always bring some over from each picking because she would always say that she had too much out of that picking. But it was a wonderful time watching her walk from the next step to the carport to get her car, or if she was in a raspberry patch, or just to see her out there that we would stop and talk. So I don't have the personal stories that you all have, but being a neighbor right next door and seeing a person almost daily, if not a couple times, at least a few times within a week, share and listen to some of her history from this valley and share that with me because I was new to the rifle area. So she knew so much that she passed on to me and I passed on to my kids. But it was a joy being Hilda's neighbor. That was the best thing I could have done all those years for rifle, being having a neighbor like her next door and then getting to know mainly Dennis, not too much on Harold because his distance where he lived. But Dennis helped me with that garage. He celebrated my 60th birthday along with Joe Rice. Is that his name? Joe also. We cleaned it up. I know Dennis helped, Hilda helped, but we cleaned out the garage. It was in June 10th. And we held that birthday party for Joe and myself. So that was almost 10 years ago. I'll be 70 now June 10th. So I remember that very well and it went over very good. We had close to 60 people in there. But those little memories of being a neighbor, don't compare to what your stories are with her involvement all the years riding a school bus and being 3 when she was 3 months and stuff like that. I've been blessed having a neighbor so wonderful and then knowing Dennis as a great friend and became part of their family. So thank you. I'm proud to be here. And I moved down to Fruita now, and I would come up as often as I could to these Saturday, once a month, because I've always had that thought, someday this breakfast may not be put on again. And of course it did come true, that there was COVID first that put a stop, and then of course Hilda health didn't come back after COVID let up, so, but I always tried to come back as often as I could every month throughout the year for Hilda. Just because it was great to walk in and she has that smile like everybody shared. She gave me a hug. She always said she was so proud that I drove that distance just to come have a breakfast, but it was all worth it. So thank you, and I'm proud to be here.
Look for you. Anybody else have anything? If Tom's got some more, he wants to say another thing, which is fine.
What I wanted to say was between Cindy and Dennis, they used to keep me informed about Hilda's health and everything throughout the years, even though I'm in California. And the tremendous effort that they did to put on this event today was unbelievable. And you're going to get to taste some of the cookies and some of the zucchini bread. So I'm just so pleased. I'm proud of everybody that's here to honor her life the way he did. And even though Harold Allen was in Florida, he kept in contact constantly too, from long distance. He had a lot of work he was doing on the horses. Anyway, I just wanted to thank you.
Okay, now everybody's, oh, James has got something.
I have some more to say. Thank you, Tommy, very much. As Cindy was saying, it has been my honor and my privilege to take care of home. I came back from, I was in Las Vegas, went up to Alaska, and came back in 2010, knowing that I was going to take care of home. And I tried. The first 10 years were pretty easy. Taking care of her, 9 years, yes. So, and we did a lot, and we took her to a lot of places. She liked it. And I want to thank everyone again so much for honoring Mom. And we love the stories. Thank you, everyone who spoke and shared Mom's memory. I know it's not easy, and but everyone did a wonderful job, and we appreciate it. I appreciate it more than you know to have this kind of turnout in Mom's memory. So.
Tell them the significance of the bourbon.
We will. That's my list here. I've got a list. I'm number 6, and there's 5 things I need to talk about. So, but Nancy's here to talk first.
Hi, I didn't know about this one. She came in our body. She was son-in-law. I knew her a little bit. Before, but not very good. But one thing I think is so sweet about her that is so evident here. She's so welcome, a big one, and very hospitable, and just made you feel like you just walked into when you walk into her house, you've known her forever, you've known her for 5 minutes. And the sweetest thing was when she was towards her end, and I know you guys have dealt with so much, but I knew the last time I saw her, she didn't really know who I was, but she was still in hospitable about me. She was like, still trying to be that little entertainer, make you feel comfortable. And to me, that was a true sign. That was just who her spirit was. Even when she was in a bad place, she still trying to make you feel welcome. So I just appreciate that about her. She was really
Really a gracious woman, wasn't she? Yeah. I have to chuckle when Patty and Gary came to visit her one day, and she was bedridden at that point. She's laying there, and she whispers to me, she goes, "Is my hair combed?" And then Patty's in there, and she's kissing her and hugging on her, and she goes, "Are my teeth in?" So, vague to the last minute. So it was, yeah, always. Well, we're kind of wrapping things up, and so I'm just, I've got, like I said, I've got a few things here that I need to mention. You notice that a few of us have purple hair, and purple was Hilda's favorite color, so in honor of the festiveness of the occasion, we decided that we would have purple hair. So that's why the 3 of us have purple hair. Justin would have had purple hair too, but he's bald. always knew her name, and she always knew her address. And the other thing that she always knew was what she was going to have for supper. Because we had peaches and cream every night for supper. Because when you're 89 years old, you can have what you want for supper, and she wanted peaches and cream every night. So we had peaches and cream and cookies every night for supper. Hilda's favorite cookie is coconut macaroons. So over at the table over here are a bunch of cookies, including coconut macaroons, and I want everybody to help themselves, eat plenty, there are lots of them. The other thing that Hilda always did, and many of you were, let's see, I've heard Gary mentioned the loaf of zucchini bread. So I would have a garden, and of course you always missed a zucchini, always. And so there was always that large zucchini, and so I'd give it to Hilda, and she would grind it up and get it ready for zucchini bread and freeze it. So this last winter I went downstairs and I cleaned out the freezer of all of the frozen zucchini bread. And I made zucchini bread. So over there is a pile of zucchini bread. I want everyone to take as much as you want, eat all the zucchini bread you want, take zucchini bread home. In addition, I don't plan on making zucchini bread again, so her recipe's over there too. So you'll all just help yourself to the zucchini bread, okay? And then Deb had made mention of some columbine seeds. Russ, I believe those columbine plants that were Hilda's came from your mother. They did. So the originals were at Eleonora's that Hilda started, and then she's given seeds out, Deb's got them going. So over on the table, too, are little packages of columbine seeds, okay? So many of you remember seeing the columbine out back. Ours, too, are blooming. They look beautiful. The other thing that's over on the table is somehow, miraculously, the snowball bush made it through the windstorms. And many years ago, Larry gave Hilda that snowball bush. And so we cut some snowballs off the snowball bush for you to enjoy today. So Sean is going to play some more bagpipe music. You all get up and enjoy the food. There's lemonade over there to go with your cookies and your zucchini bread. And Dennis has got one more thing to say. I'm done.
Okay. Also over on the table are some red solo cups with the lemonade, for your lemonade. And we're going to play that song, the red solo cup, when we turn the slideshow back on. So when that song comes on, raise your glass to Hilda.
So that was her favorite song, and being hard of hearing, that was one song that she could hear the rhythm and the bass and the music and the voice and everything. And it's hard to enjoy music when you can't hear. And that was one she enjoyed. So if you were at her 80th birthday party, we had wine and beer in red solo cups. Today we're having lemonade in red solo cups. One more time for you, Hilda. Red solo cups, one more time.
So everybody just please help yourself. We don't want to take any of this back with us. So, and if there's still zucchini bread over there and you're ready to go, wrap some up in a napkin. Sean, we're ready for you again. Thank you very much. Sean Taylor.